Right, hello and welcome to this new lesson. So, in this week's lesson, we are going to do the correction for the first document of our new unit, the unit which is dedicated to the city of Bristol. So, I am sure that you've been doing some research on the city, and so, of course, now you know that Bristol is quite a big city in the UK. Okay, it is a British city, it is an English city. Okay, and you know that it's in the southwest of the country, southwest of England. Right. It is not the biggest city of the UK, not the second biggest city after London, but it's okay. It's quite big. Okay, it's in the top 10, top 12 of the big cities in England. Right. So the first document, the three or four questions that you had to do for today, well, it was about a text which was quite general. Okay, it was an introduction, okay, an introductory document to the city. In this document, there are mentions of slavery, of course, okay, slavery, but also of music in the city. Yeah, a few things about music and a few things about cultural life. So this will be the different parts of the unit. First, we are going to see in the second document, in document number 2, we are going to study more slavery, the link, the relation between the city of Bristol and slavery, the slave trade. That will be in document 2. Document 3 will be more geographical. Okay, geographical. We are going to listen to an audio guide to do a tour, okay, a circuit, a tour in the city. And finally, we are going to discuss art, okay, art, street art, music, etc., etc. Right? So, let's dive in. Correction. First, you had to choose. It was a question 1. You had, for document 1, question 1, you had to choose a title for the text. Okay. 3 propositions, 3 suggestions of titles. A, the influence of slavery on Bristol. B, the slave owners of Bristol. C, a map of Bristol. Right. It's always the same first question. Choose a title. Choose the best title. It was not C. It was not a map of Bristol, of course. A map is not a text, so not C. The slave owners of Bristol. There are many names of slave owners from Bristol. Edward Colston, okay, Joseph Albrook, Edmund Saunders, etc., etc. But the text is not specifically about them. Okay, so the good answer was A, the influence of slavery on Bristol. Okay, so 1A, the influence of slavery on Bristol. Right. Now, for the first really interesting question. Question 2 was a true or false. True or false, and justify with one element from the text. Okay, that's important. So A, Guinea is the ancient name of Bristol. Right. Let's read the text from line 1. The creation of modern Britain owes much to slavery. A walk through a cold grey Bristol on Friday made this argument clear. Guinea Street was home to the slave traders and owners Edmund Saunders and Joseph Holbrook. So there's a mention of Guinea, but Guinea Street, not Guinea simply. Okay, so let's continue line 3. Guinea was the name given to West Africa by those who looked for their fortunes in slavery. Okay, so Guinea was not the ancient name of Bristol. Okay, it was the ancient name of West Africa during colonization and before. So A was false, and you could justify with line 3. Guinea was a name given to West Africa. Good. Now B. Question B. To B, only poor people lived on Queen Square. Only poor people lived on Queen Square. Right, let's read line 5. There is also Queen Square, a collection of attractive Georgian houses that were home to many of the wealthiest slave traders. Right. So you know what slave trade is? A slave trader is someone who trades slaves. And it is written that Queen Square was home to many of the wealthiest slave traders. So, I'm sure you looked up in the dictionary, wealthiest, the wealthiest, it's the most wealthy, so the richest. So again, B was false. Only poor people? No. The richest, the wealthiest. Okay? So B was false, and you could quote, take from the text, line 5 and line 6, Queen Square, a collection of attractive Georgian houses that were home to many of the wealthiest slave traders. Okay, to C. Edward Colston became rich because of the trade of slaves. What do we know about Edward Colston? Line 8. Edward Colston, a philanthropist and merchant. He was a merchant, so a trader. A merchant who paid for several schools, churches, hospitals that still exist today. So he was a rich man. Colston's wealth came from the trade. So it was true. 2C was true. Colston's wealth, Colston's riches came from the trade. Alright. 2D, the importance of the slave trade can be seen on the architecture of the city. The importance of the slave trade can be seen on the architecture of the city. Let's read paragraph number 3. Such buildings are testimony to a trade that was conducted with extraordinary vigor. Okay? Such buildings are testimony. You should recognize the word testimony. It looks like the French testament. Okay? So it's something that still exists after the time of someone or after the time of something. Okay? Testimony to a trade is what remains, what still exists after the trade. Now there is no trade. So such buildings that are testimony to a trade meant that question D was true. Today, when you look at the buildings in Bristol, you can see that they were built, mostly built, during slavery, during slave trade, so 19th century. Okay? And so you can see that the architecture of the city is almost all buildings from the 19th century. You should go on Google Maps, Google Street, you type Bristol, and you should be able to walk in the city. Right. Finally, 2E. Bristol was the only city to develop because of the slave trade, because of the trade of slaves. Of course it was false, not the only city. Line 19, I read, other cities, notably London, Liverpool, Glasgow, benefited significantly too, and even the most rural parts were not untouched. So many cities, and also the rurality, the countryside, okay? London, Liverpool, Glasgow, etc., etc., etc. So it was false, okay? Right. So this was a true-false, you know how it works. Now, question 3. Pick out 2 elements in the text showing that the participation of Britain in the slave trade was really enormous, was massive, was gigantic. Right, so there were several answers, okay? Not only 2, 3 or 4 or 5 in the text were good, but 2 best answers were in the 3rd paragraph, okay? If you take a look at line 11 and 12, it is estimated that Britain transported more than 3 million African people across the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so that was one answer. Britain transported more than 3 million people, more than 3 million African people across the Atlantic, okay, from West Africa to the Americas, North America, okay? So it was really enormous. 3 million people, more than 3 million people. And 2, it was an epic trade, okay? Epic trade, massive trade, gigantic trade, enormous. That involved some 10,000 voyages. Remember, voyages is when you travel in a boat, okay? Remember that when we studied Ellis Island? Okay, a voyage is when you travel in a boat, only in a boat. 10,000 voyages, so it was enormous. That was the second answer. Okay, so first, Britain transported more than 3 million African people across the ocean, and 2, some 10,000 voyages. Right. Question 4 was simply a question of vocabulary, right? It will not be difficult. So, the richest, find a synonym to the richest. We've done it already, okay? We've seen that another word for the richest, okay, the person with the most money, you could say the wealthiest. Okay, the wealthiest, it is on line 6. Okay, on line 6, the wealthiest. Right. Now B, a concert place. Concert place, a place where there is music and concerts. There's only one part of the text about music. Okay, it's on line 9, on lines 9 and 10. The Bristol-born music band Massive Attack have pledged never to play at the venue, okay, until its name is changed. So the synonym to the concert place was the venue, okay? Line 10, the venue. Then synonym to great energy. Great energy. Well, I'm sure you found it on line 11. Line 11. Such buildings are testimony to a trade that was conducted with extraordinary vigor. Extraordinary vigor was synonym to great energy. Okay, vigor is the synonym for energy. Great, extraordinary, that's the same. So, great energy, line 11, extraordinary vigor. And finally, it was the most difficult word to find, I think, but you should know it. A synonym to not many people. Not many people. It was at the end of the text, alright? The end of the text, last sentence, line 21. And yet, unlike in the USA, few people in Britain, okay? Not many people, few people. Okay, so line 21, few people. Right, so that's it for the introduction. Next, for next week, I'm giving you a new text, okay? Because we were supposed to practice on text reading and text writing for the E3C2, you know. Well, there will be no E3C2, but there are exactly the same kind of things in the E3C3 next year. So we need to be able to read text. And that will be the main part of your year of terminal. Okay, so a new text for next week. It's document 2, and the title of the document is Bristol and the Slave Trade. Okay, so document 1 was the introduction, document 2, it's the first part of the lesson. Okay, historical lesson. First, I'm explaining the questions. 4 questions again. First, you need to pick adjectives, easy. 2, you will need to make a list, so to pick up, to quote from the text, make a list of 6 historical periods. Maybe a date, maybe a year, maybe it will be a century or a decade or anything. So you pick up the date, the time, okay, and you explain what happened. For example, in the 12th century, this happened. You explain, okay, there was da 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 da. So that's question 2. Question 3. Question 3, I would like you to explain what the triangular trade is. Triangular, you recognize the word triangle. So, you will see that in the document I've made a drawing of a triangle. So with 3 summits of the triangle, 3 apexes, this is the word in English, and 3 arrows. Okay, 3 arrows. You will see in the document. On each summit, on each apex of the triangles, 3 summits, I want the name of a geographical location, of a place. Country, continent, region, city, anything. Okay, 3. And the arrow is a movement, so I want the name of the products, of the goods, transported from one point, one summit to another, one place to another. Okay? You will understand when you read the text. What is really important, and that will be the end of the video, what is important is question 4. Question 4 is writing the lesson, making the lesson. So, I would like you to understand the text. You do question 1, 2, 3, you gather information, you take information, and you use the information to make a short paragraph, which is the lesson. History lesson, okay? But in English, of course. There are some rules, some constraints. There are a few verbs that you need to use. Found, which is the English for fonder. Develop, grow bigger, adapt, become, that you understand. I will move to switch to French for the last part of the video. Je vous demande donc, dans cette question 4 du prochain document, d'écrire la leçon. C'est vous qui écrivez la leçon, un petit paragraphe, au moins 50 mots, mais je pense que vous devriez en faire 60-70 pour être bien clair. La contrainte, la règle que je vous donne, c'est d'utiliser 5 verbes qui sont très utiles. Found, develop, grow bigger, adapt, become. Je vous rappelle simplement ceci. Normalement, depuis la 5e et la 3e, vous avez appris à vous servir du prétérit simple. Pour éviter les erreurs et pour que cet exercice soit bien réussi du premier coup, que vous n'ayez pas à y repasser trop de temps en correction. Je vous rappelle une chose. En anglais, le prétérit simple, c'est le temps pour raconter des histoires. Des histoires inventées ou l'histoire, la matière. C'est le temps que vous allez devoir utiliser ici. C'est le temps que l'on utilise en anglais pour traduire les temps en français, passé simple, imparfait, mais aussi passé composé. Et ça, c'est quelque chose que vous devez déjà maîtriser, mais que je me permets de vous rappeler. En français, vous allez devoir dire, par exemple, vous allez dire au XIIe siècle, Bristol a construit un port. A construit. On a un temps composé, un passé composé. En anglais, un seul mot. C'est le verbe construire, en anglais, que l'on conjugue au prétérit. Si c'est un verbe régulier, on met ED. Si c'est un verbe irrégulier, c'est la deuxième colonne. Mais on ne traduit pas le A dans A construit. D'accord ? La ville a construit. Les gens ont construit. C'est build. Le prétérit, c'est built, verbe irrégulier. Donc, people built. Les gens ont construit. Gardez bien ça en tête, c'est le plus important. Je pense que c'est dans le top 5 des choses à maîtriser en anglais. Et c'est surtout dans le top 5 aussi, voire top 3, des erreurs les plus fréquentes, je vous l'ai déjà dit. Pensez à ça. La ville s'est développée. D'accord, on a plusieurs parties en français. C'est the city developed. On rajoute simplement le ED. Pareil pour les autres verbes, notamment adapter, s'adapter, adapt. Vous pensez bien à ça. Ces 4 questions, donc, c'est très court. Hein. C'est un tout petit peu plus long que ce que vous avez fait là, mais ça reste très court. Ces questions, vous me les envoyez avant jeudi. Ce serait bien de me les envoyer pour mercredi. On sera le 26, dernier délai. Histoire de pouvoir profiter de cette correction qui arrivera donc jeudi. Je vous recontacterai aussi parce que ce principe de vidéo est efficace, assez court, je pense, pour vous. Mais j'aimerais bien que l'on fasse ça en direct dans un live YouTube. Donc, on essaiera de rentrer en contact pour fixer un horaire. Je vous remercie. Travaillez bien. Je vous envoie le document par mail. À la semaine prochaine.